What's up, YouTube? This is True Raw for TV. All right, so of course, today, after much anticipation, we learned the fate of Sean Diddy Combs, at least for the time being. Judge Aaron Sabrabanian, who I feel is operating on probably a combination of personal bias and pressure from higher sources, aka the government, the federal government, because I think this whole situation was just a witch hunt against Diddy. But anyway, Diddy was sentenced to 50 months in prison, which equals to about 4 years and 2 months. The prosecution wanted 11 years. The maximum sentence was 20 years, which would have been ridiculous if they had given him that. The defense wanted something along, I think, 14 months, which, given that he's been behind bars 12 months already, could have possibly have led him to come home for Christmas. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. And after some initial confusion, where some of us thought he had gotten 11 years, it then came out after Rahabanian finally got it out that it was going to be 50 months. I think that his team probably is going to appeal this, and Diddy will probably do no more than 1 or 2 more years, hopefully a year. This whole situation is, in my opinion, it's disgusting on so many levels, because while what Diddy did to Cassie was terrible, he's been behind bars long enough, I think, in my opinion, to atone for that. Yes, domestic violence is horrible, okay? It is. No man should put his hands on a woman unless he's in a situation where he feels like his life is threatened. And don't give me this bullshit about it's never okay, because there are some big ass women walking around here. Okay, there are some women walking around here who are 6 feet tall, 220, 240 pounds, and there's some men walking around here 5'2", $110. So yeah, 95% of the time it's not okay. But there are some women who beat up on men and abuse men, and police officers in the system laugh at them and call them less than men. So let's be 100 when it comes to this situation. Also, we all know that, and by the way, let me say something else too. I'm just getting tired of this. I'm tired of all this sneak this and bullshit on here on YouTube, man, from other YouTubers. If you don't like something I'm saying, just contact me directly. Don't make a video sneak dissing me and act like we cool with each other. You know what I'm saying? That's cowardly, bro. But anyway, the thing that really bothers me about this whole situation is that Diddy was never charged with the domestic stuff. That was put out there strategically by the government, in my opinion, and it gave the tape to CNN, who's been leading the charge against Diddy. I think they did that to put a personal, when that tape was leaked back in May of 2024, I think it was, that tape was leaked to create a permanent bias in the minds of people, the public opinion. And what makes that so disgusting is that the jury is supposed to be unbiased, right? But when you look at the makeup of the jury, obviously it was slanted to favor the prosecution. And when you have social media so prevalent on people's phones, you know, media crosses over into social media now. And when you have all these different people on social media creating so much false information about this case, that he had uh, baby oil laced with drug altering chemicals or whatever the case may be, and you know he had all these other things going on, and underground dungeons with tortures and all this other stuff. I remember hearing out here. There's all this stuff that wasn't even true. All these celebrities that supposedly were there at these freak offs, right? But none of them magically ever were indicted. None of them magically testified for the most part, right? Uh, it was all just to create a bias against this man. And then they used the Mann Act. The Mann Act, a racist act that was created just to get Jack Johnson because he had the temerity and the audacity at the time, at the turn of the century, to knock out a white man in the ring and to go around and fuck white women. Therefore, they had to get him. They created a racist act, which, by the way, you know, Obama's chicken ass, just want to put this out here. Obama's chicken ass was too scared to give Jack Johnson a posthumous pardon. It took the late John McCain leading the charge and Trump, of all people, to give Jack Johnson a goddamn pardon. Trump, which leads me to another possibility. Although I don't think it's likely, if I'm Diddy's people, I would look at a Trump pardon again. I mean, there's a president there. I mean, it does depend a lot on whether Trump likes you or not. But we know that Trump was always there for Mike Tyson, and we know that Trump has his history of feeling like there are some women out there who are gold diggers who try to, prey on rich men. But then again, that was the Trump of 30 years ago or 20 years ago, compared to the guy now. So I don't know. But I also want to mention something else to all you all, right? By no means am I saying that Diddy's is an innocent child and he's a good person. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that Diddy is by no means the worst of the worst. And we got to keep the same energy for all these people. Because I think this guy right here is infinitely worse. Diddy by no means is what I would call a moral leader, right? This man right here on the left is somebody that positioned himself as a moral leader. His name is Robert Morris. And he was a megachurch he was a mega pastor church. He was a pastor of a mega church in Texas. And that church is, I think, Gateway Church. He built in one of the largest congregations in the country, right? Robert Morris, 64 years old. You notice you're not talking about this much in the news. This is one of the largest pastors. This is the pastor of one of the largest churches in America, right? But he pled guilty yesterday. The charges that he dilly-dallied with a little rascal, put it like that, in the 1980s, a 70-year-old little rascal. Morris, 64, entered the plea before Judge Cindy Pickerel, admitting to 5 felony counts of lewd or indecent acts with a little one. Under a negotiated plea agreement, he was given a 10-year sentence, but he will only serve 6 months in the county jail. He must also register as an offender and pay $250,000 in restitution. What was it the prosecution was trying to get Diddy to pay? $500,000? for beating up Cassie. So to me, it seems like women are more protected than children in this country. This is another instance of people getting away with doing the absolute worst to children. And this brings me back to the Epstein situation. What happened to that? It's like whatever. It's like after Charlie Kirk, people just totally forgot about that. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole, or whether that was just. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But it's just interesting how this works. Everybody totally forgot about that. Remember the group of survivors that met in Capitol Hill? They're supposed to come out with a list of. What happened to all that? Were they all scared away? Were they all scared into a submission behind the scenes and the media not reporting it? You make an argument that the whole thing with Diddy is just the Epstein script put on him. Because all the other stuff they talked about, that has nothing to do with domestic violence. But yet he was never charged with domestic violence. But yet the judge himself brought up domestic violence when he was never charged with that. And that's what I keep trying to tell people. It's not about whether you like the dude or not. It's about the miscarriage of justice as far as the charges. See, it's easy to ignore what the fuck I'm talking about when you dislike somebody. But let it be somebody you like. Let it be somebody that you admire, or somebody that, for whatever reason, you know, you got some connection with. And see the same thing happen, and then all of a sudden you crying about it. Because, you know, for all intents and purposes, this country elected a 34 count felon to the presidency. And by all accounts, Trump seems to be a horrible human being in many ways, right? But people seem to have an affinity toward Trump. There's something that they can connect with when it comes to Trump. I wonder what that is. But I'm not supposed to have a connection with Diddy because of something that many of us have in common as black men. You're not going to shame me away from how I feel. I'm not going to magically change my opinion because it don't bow down to yours. Fuck you.